There's a line in Alice in Wonderland where Alice is meeting the Cheshire Cat and she asks the Cheshire Cat which way she needs to go. But the Cheshire Cat asks her, well, where are you trying to get to? You know, like which road depends on where you're trying to go. And she says, well, she doesn't have a place in mind that she's trying to get to. And Cheshire Cat says, well, then it doesn't really matter which road you take, because I mean, realistically, if you don't have a place that you're going, then why does it matter which road you choose? You're just wandering around in Wonderland, you know, looking around. And when you see that in a book or in a movie, it seems so obvious that, like, of course, it doesn't matter where you're going if you know, don't have a destination in mind. But a lot of us live like that every single day. It can be really easy to just kind of live your life and you do this and you do that because it just seems like the next thing to do, but not actually have like a real good plan. And you're doing the same thing that Alice did in Wonderland, just wandering around because you don't have a specific place that you're trying to get to. So how do we avoid that? Because in life, that's not really helpful. If you're not intentional with where you're trying to go, you're not going to get anywhere. So how do we avoid that? And how do we make sure that we actually get places that we actually want to go? Well, if you're trying to get to any specific place, the most important thing in general in life is to make sure that you are intentional with the things that you're doing. We're not just wandering around. We're not just, you know, willy-nilly going down this path or that path or whatever. We actually have a destination in mind that we are working towards. Like, where are you headed? Where are you going? What's your destination in life? It could be a physical place, but it's probably more of a mental place. So in this video, we're to talk about how you can kind of, I like to call it dreamscape, but like the landscape, but your dreamscape, how you can kind of design the life that you would like to have and just make sure that you're actually on track to do things that you want to do, and you're not just doing things because they come up or because, you know, the cat said to go that way and so you go that way, but instead actually making sure that you're following what you want to do in your life. So in order to do that and to be intentional and to follow those things, we're gonna make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different plans today. I'm gonna need you to pause this video, go get a piece of paper, go get a pen, go get a pencil, whatever your, all of you technology people, go get your iPad, whatever, and grab something good to drink, maybe a coffee, maybe water, whatever, and let's talk about how you can design a life that you're gonna love, that's actually one where you will get places that you want to go and you won't look back at your life and be like, what was I even doing? And the answer is you didn't know because you were just wandering around. So now that you have your paper, you have your pen, you have all your stuff, we're gonna go through 5 different plans that you need to make, and we're basically making like an inverted triangle. We're gonna start really, really wide, and then we're gonna get more and more and more and more and more narrow. So the first thing you need to do is just take your paper, take your pen, and without any inhibitions, like don't think about it, just think, what do I want in life? Like, if you could do anything, if you could be anything, if you had, you know, money was no object, like what would you want to do? How would you want to spend your time? Where would you want to live? Like, think big, 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 big picture. What are things that you're like, it would be so cool if I could do X, Y, Z? Write those things down. Don't judge them. Don't think about them. Just write them down. Like, I don't care what it is. Just take a minute, write them down. And as you write them down, if something else pops up to you, write that down too. Again, don't judge it, don't think about it, just go with whatever comes out of your pen, because the point right now is that you need to figure out like what you actually want in life. And so in order to do that, you have to think about those things that are maybe big and maybe crazy, and I call these your big scary goals. These are huge things in your life that you're like, man, it would be so cool if I could live in this certain neighborhood, or it would be so cool if I could quit my job and do, you know, something else, or it would be so cool if I could, you know, buy my husband his dream car. Whatever it is, I don't care. The point is that you come up with things that are important to you that you find really big and helpful. My big scary dreams are like the only things that I keep private from y'all, because I will tell you pretty much anything that you want to know. But that page in my bullet journal is one I skip over because there's things on there that I'm just not ready to share, because those goals are the big and the scary ones that are not things that I am necessarily currently on track for. Now, as you wind up writing these down, you might think like, what is the point of these? Like, these are, you know, super random. It's like a random car that I might want to drive, and, you know, oh, I want to have kids, but I'm not even married, and and you know, like you might have things on there that just seem a little preposterous right now. And the reason is because I need you to get out of your head, one, and I need you to start thinking about what you actually want. Not, oh, I have this career and so I'm laid out on this path, but what do you actually want? What do you actually want to do? And this is going to get a lot more real when we go into step number 2. So step number 2, we've gone from biggest to slightly smaller, and this is your 5 to 10 year goals. So now that we've come up with a couple of like really big things, maybe like a crazy vacation, maybe a dream house, maybe a, you know, you want to have a certain number of kids, maybe you want to work only 4 hours a day, or like whatever it is, I don't know, but whatever it is, you have those like things now. Now we want to get into specifics. And so with this, and actually the next couple of steps, basically I want you to sit down and I want you to think, okay, what is my life going to look like in 10 years? So when I do this, and I do this often, at least once or twice a year, the first thing I like to start with is just the simple things. So the math. In 10 years, I will be, the year will be, you know, 2033. Oh my gosh. And I will be this many years old. So start with that. And I like to start with that because it just gives me like a grounding point in my brain of like, where even are we? I have no idea. And then once you, especially I feel like the age thing really gets me, because once I see like, oh, I'm gonna be this old, I'm like, ooh, huh, maybe that's not as far away as I thought it was. And then I start thinking, huh, what are all those things that I want to make sure that I have done by the time I get there? So now that you've decided, you know, I'm this age and this is the year, we're going to think through pretty much everything. What do you want your life to look like? We're literally designing your life right now. So in 10 years, what do you want? Where do you want to be? Literally, like physically, where do you want to live? Who do you want to be living with? Like, who's in your house? Are you married? Do you have kids? Are you, you know, whatever? Are your kids moved out? Like, those are all things to think about. You know, and like, do you want to live in your house now? Do you want to live somewhere else? Do you want to go live by the beach? Do you want, you know, other things? Where do you want to be physically? Then I like to think, how do I want to spend my time? And I like to phrase it that way because mostly we go straight to like, oh, what's my job gonna be? And that's important, obviously, but more important than what's my job gonna be is how am I spending my time? Am I spending my time, all my time at work? Am I, you know, working part-time? Am I working for myself and I have a business? Am I, you know, like what am I doing with my time? And so think through things like work. Do you want to be working? What do you want to be working? Do you like your current job? Do you want to stay there? Do you want to move up where you are? Do you want to do something completely different? Do you want to try something different? Are there other things in life that you want to have accomplished by then? Like in 10 years, I would like to have a couple of books released. I have a few. They're up there. You can't see them. That's not very good marketing. Just Becca. But I would like to be able to have more, and I want to have some that are a little bit different and a little bit deeper. And I have like things like that. So like, what are things that you want? Where do you want to be? What do you want to be spending your time on? And then also like, what do you want to have already accomplished by this time? What else? Are there hobbies you want to do? Are there things you want to do? Are there places you want to see? Are there all of those things? Like think about all of those things, write them down. And again, no inhibitions, don't judge anything. This is not here to be perfectly edited. No one's going to read it. You could literally burn it after this. I don't care. But just think, what do I want to do? What do I want to be spending my time on? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be? After you've gotten that down, then we're going to say, okay, in 5 years, what do I want my life to be? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be? What do I want to spend my time on? What is my job going to be? Where am I going on vacation? Like think about all those things in 5 years. And the reason this is important is because we're working big picture to smaller pictures. We're reverse engineering your life. If you say, okay, in 10 years, most of my audience are teachers. So in 10 years, I want to be the principal. What are things that you need to have done in 10 years? And then what are the things you need to work on in the next 5 years? Because maybe in the next 5 years, you need to get your master's so that you can go get your doctorate or your specialist to be a principal. Or maybe in the next 5 years, you want to make sure you want to like move up to academic coach so that you're in line for that principalship. Or, you know, like what are those things that you kind of need to do in the next 5 years in order to be on track for that 10-year goal? So we're taking your bigger goal and we're making it smaller so that you can figure out what are the things that I need to do. We're basically making milestones or like a timeline of your life. So it's the same questions, but we're gonna bring it in a little bit more. So 10 years, what are you gonna do? 5 years, what are you gonna do? Okay, how old are you gonna be? Once you got that sorted, we're doing the same thing for 3 years. And then the most important one is in 1 year. Because now that you have 10, 5, and 3, 1 year is not that much time in comparison. And if you can see, okay, I need to do X, Y, Z in the next 5 years, okay, what are those things you need to do now in this year to get to that place in 5 years? And I know this might seem repetitive and it might seem weird, but as you do this, it can really help you to realistically think through designing your life. So think through in 1 year, like 1 year from today, what do I want to be doing? Where do I want to be doing that? How do I want to feel? And when I get to the 1 year, a lot of it is how do I want to feel? What do I want to be spending my time on? And since I do have a business, how much money do I want to make so that I can, you know, do whatever it is that I want to do in my life? And those are the top 3 that I look at for the next year, because a year is not actually that much time. And when your year is working towards your 3-year goal, it's working towards your 5-year goal, it's working towards your 10-year goal, you can't waste it and you need to make it happen. And in the next year, you can actually visualize it and you can actually like see that progress pretty quickly. So what are things you want to be doing? How are you spending your time? And what do you want to be feeling? I did this at the beginning of this year, 2023. And when I did this, I, you know, forecasted out a year. And one of the main things that I saw was I need to be less stressed, because I was just living in a constant like stress ball mode. And so seeing that and thinking in a year, I don't want to feel that way. Like I don't want to keep on this path that I'm on, made me realize that I needed to figure out ways to change that. So now that you have 10, 5, 3, make your 1 year Dreamcast. In 1 year, where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? All of those things. And then comes the actionable part. How are we going to get there? So for me, when I looked at this year and I said, I need to be less stressed by next year, I'm not going to be spending all of, you know, this whole year, I don't want to spend all my time being stressed out all the time. I had to come up with actual actionable steps that would help me in that goal. So for me, actionable steps were I needed to find a new job because it just wasn't working out anymore. And I needed that change personally to kind of be a reset. And I was really hoping for a slightly less stressful school because I am a teacher. And I did get that. Glory, glory, hallelujah. And so that was one of the biggest things on my list this year was I needed to find a new job. But that wasn't the only thing. So that was one action step. But another action step was that I had to get myself under control essentially, and I had to make sure that I wasn't stressing myself out, because a lot of times we're the ones who do it to ourselves. And so I had to really work this year on adjusting like my planning and figuring out how much I could do and not overburdening myself and then stressing myself out when I didn't hit that. So job and getting better at planning. And on top of that, I also needed to make more space for myself and for turning my brain off so that I wasn't as stressed all the time. And so I had to really work on adjusting my schedule, and I've been like really working on different habits, even some just in this last month, because again, it was a yearly goal. And so even in the last month, I've had to sit down and I've had to be like, okay, what can I do to help me on this path? How can I, you know, create action steps, things I can actually do and check off to make this happen? So for example, for the past month or so, I have been doing 2 to 4 days a week. I've been either taking the dogs for a walk or doing yoga. Those things are both very like calming to me. They help. My biggest thing is like my brain just like doesn't shut off, and I'm like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do that. And so that's like my brain 24/7. And so doing things like yoga, doing things like a walk, allow me to like move my body, so it kind of distracts me a little bit, so it like turns some of that off. And then it also makes sure that I'm not working at that time, because I can't, because I'm dealing with dogs or I'm doing downward dog, and either way it's just not very practical to be working while you're doing that. And so it forced me to take a little bit of a break. So that kind of stuff. I have upped my reading this year, because reading is a calm, quiet activity. I've really discovered that I really like calm, quiet activities, probably because I'm a teacher. And so things like reading I love, because it uses my brain, so my brain can't be spinning 100 miles an hour, and it's quiet and it doesn't make my body hurt, because it's exhausting teaching music all day long. I also, in the last, I would say 2 months, I've gotten a lot better at practicing piano. We got a piano this year, and so that was something. So like adding those habits in have really helped me to make that goal and to like meet that goal. And if I hadn't set that intention at the beginning of the year, it wouldn't have happened. I would have just kept doing whatever I was doing. But instead, I looked out a year and I said, I can't be this stressed next year. Like I can't do a whole nother year of this. And so I had to find a way to make that go away. So now that you have your all your years, with your 1 year, you want to get really specific of like, what do I want to have done in a year? What do I want to accomplish? What am I doing? How am I feeling? All of those things, so that you can come up with your action steps. Once you have your ideas of, in a year I want to do X, Y, Z, then we're going to create those action steps. So break down your goal. If you need to be less stressed, how do you get less stressed? If you need to make more money, how are you going to make more money? What are the actual things you're going to do to make that happen? I like to think checking boxes, and so I think I literally draw check boxes every time, because I want to remind myself that these are things I can check off my list and say like, yes, I did that. Yes, I did that. Yes, I did that. And having those check boxes, things that I can check off my list, really help me to make sure that I'm picking actionable things that I can do. Now, we have one more plan to make after you've done all your dream casting, forecasting, and dreamscaping, I don't know. Your planning, your dream planning your big things. And then we come up with our 1 year plan. Now you have a bunch of action steps, and we need to assign them actual times, because here's the deal. A year is weird in that it is a lot of time, but it's not a lot of time. And so you can get a lot done, but it's really easy to waste a year. So instead of being like, oh, this whole year I'm gonna do X, Y, Z, I like to take it quarter by quarter. So a quarter is 3 months, 12 weeks. And that's just like a very doable amount of time. Like you usually kind of sort of know what you're going to be doing in the next 3 months. And you kind of sort of know what's going on in your life, and kind of sort of know what you're doing. And you can kind of visualize that a lot better than you can visualize like next year, because next year kind of feels far away, even though it's really not. And so when you only have 3 months to do something, it just shortens your timeline and means that you have to get things done more quickly. So now that you have your action steps, we need to sort them into actionable plans for each quarter. With this, I like to break down my biggest things and really think of like OKRs, which are oh, I don't even know what they're called, objectives and key results. So objective, lower stress level. Key results are actual things to do. Those are your action items. So when I don't have my bullet journal in here. I was going to show you. When I'm planning out my quarter, I plan and I have, here's the objective, make X amount of money, lose X amount of weight, read X amount of books. And then under that, I have the actionable steps that I need to do to make that happen. So for example, one of my quarter 4 goals is that I want to become better at writing. Not very specific, but here we are. And so in that, that's like the ultimate goal, but I had to come up with things that I could check off to actually plan. So I have certain books that I'm reading. I have certain habits I'm doing, like journaling and like different like writing tasks that I've been reading about, and typing, practicing my typing speed so my typing gets better. And having all of those things are actual things I can check off, and that helps me to make sure that I have a plan. So when I look at my bullet journal, which I do every single day, and I look and see what my goals are for this month, I have objective, check marks, objective, check marks. Pick just a couple. You don't need a ton, but just a couple of them so that you have something to focus on this quarter. You might have things that need a whole quarter, and you might have things that don't need a whole quarter. You might also have things that are year long. So if you're doing the business side hustle thing, which we talk about a lot on this channel, then you might have a money goal. I know I always have a money goal, and in that I have to break it down by quarter, because I can't just be like, I don't know, I just can't visualize the year as well. So I break down in quarter and I say, okay, this quarter I need to make X amount of money. How am I going to do that? So I have, you know, make X amount of money, and then under that I have like make this product, make this blog post, promote your email list, like those kind of things that I can actually check off that are actual things. Every quarter I have a line item for make X amount of dollars. The dollar number changes and what I'm doing to make that happen changes, but the goal is really a year, and I just break that down into 4. So you might have things that are things you break down into 4. You might have things that are just 1 quarter or not even a whole quarter. That's fine too. But have those things and give yourself a tight enough deadline that you actually make progress on them. Because when you're looking out 10 years, you're like, wow, 10 years, that's a long time. It's 40 quarters. If you waste one, now you only have 39. So what are you gonna do, and how are you gonna use all of those quarters? How are you gonna use all that time intentionally so that you can actually get to where you want? And notice I'm not sitting here being like, you need to work 24/7. Actually, most of my examples had nothing to do with work, but you do need to be intentional with how you spend your time. I don't care what your goals are. I don't care where you want to be or what you want to do. That is totally up to you and, you know, whoever you live with and all that good stuff. But you do need to have some sort of plan so that you could live intentionally, and you need to review this plan often. I look at my yearly plan daily. I even have like, I'm very like a long form processor. Like I was the girl that was like, give me an essay over a test any day of the week. Like I just can do that much better because my brain thinks that way. So I prefer it that way. So when I do this, I always write in my journal, and I'll write pages and pages and pages and pages. But then I give myself a little cheat sheet in my bullet journal so that every single day I can flip through and I can see, okay, by this year I want to do XYZ, this year I want to do XYZ, this year I want to do XYZ. And I have everything on there from income level to where I want to live to other random things to other goals that I have in life to I want to have go on this vacation or that vacation. Like all of those things are in this little cheat sheet that I have, and having that on like a short little like bullet point situation helps me to be able to see it every day, and helps me to make sure that I'm actually like doing those things and working towards that. Because looking at it on a piece of paper makes me realize, huh, that's not a lot of quarters. That's not a lot of months. That's not a lot of days. And so I need to make sure I'm not wasting any of them, because I got things to do. And you know, things to do might be, I want to go to Hawaii. Okay, that's the thing I want to do. And so those are things that are on there, and you have, like, you just need to be intentional with your life. So actually I just decided right now that I'll make you a little printable, and I'll link it down below. And if you click that link, then you can get the printable of like your whole dream casting pages, as well as like a cheat sheet of shorthand, which means now I'm gonna have to make that before I post this video. But it's fine, it's fine. And it's really important, and it's really fun. Like, make it fun. Go grab a cup of coffee or whatever it is that you're into, you know, get some snacks, put on some nice music, and just like have some time to yourself. Even if it's like 10 minutes, it's fine. Just have some time where you really think about yourself and your goals and your plans, because in 10 years from now, I want you to be able to be like, I totally did that, and not 10 years go by and you be like, oh my gosh, I've wasted 10 years. Like, what was I even doing? I have no idea. I want you to know what you were doing. And I want that to be things that you wanted to do and you did on purpose, so that you're now in a place where you can do things. And now, obviously, is your life gonna look exactly like that in 10 years? Probably not. Probably not. And that's okay, because things happen, and things that you don't expect are gonna happen. Like, that's going to happen. But if you don't have a place you're headed, then you have no direction. So instead of just taking things as they come, I want you to have a direction, and I want you to have a path. And even if that path gets wobbly, and even if you end up jumping onto a different path, that's fine too. But have a direction and have a goal and have a place that you are headed, so that you can really make sure that you are doing the things that get you to a place where you want to be, and not just ending up somewhere that's not where you want to be. I'll leave a link to that freebie that I'm gonna now go and make down below. And yeah, thanks for watching. I am Becca. If you made it through the whole video, I didn't introduce myself. Hey, I'm Becca. I'm an elementary music teacher, and I have a business, and I like to help other people with their side hustling, time management, brain space, not losing your mind kind of stuff. So if you are into that, and if you made it all the way to the end of the video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and then I'll see you next time. Bye.